Hey students, welcome back to Buddy. Let's review chapter 25 notes and proceed with chapter 26. So we do know that on little T's 13th birthday, they had to bury Grandpa T. Okay. Mama wanted to donate Grandpa T's clothes to the poor. Little T says no, too soon. Little T draws Buddy in class. They decorate their apartment for Christmas. And little T gets a puppy for Christmas, so we know it's not Buddy, but a puppy. Okay, let's see what happens in chapter 26. I named that dog Rover. Mama says, "Why did you name him that?" I shrug. It sounds like a dog name. "Why didn't you name him Little B?" Daddy says, "for little Buddy." "He ain't little Buddy," I say. "He ain't even close." And he ain't. In the first place, he's white with brown spots, and Buddy was black. In the second place, he's got short, stiff hair, and Buddy's hair was longer and soft when I brushed it. In the third place, he's a yippy little puppy, and Buddy was full grown. In the fourth place, he's got 4 legs. In the fifth place, well, that dog just ain't little Buddy. So I call him Rover. He's got to live in this little bitty apartment with us because we ain't got no yard. He's got a wire cage he sleeps in at night, but during the day, he's hopping all over everything. I'm pulling him off of Grandpa T's sofa and out from under the Christmas tree and out of the laundry basket, and the whole time his tail is going whap, 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 and he's looking up at me and grinning like he's proud of all his foolishness. Well, he's a puppy. Remember, students, he's just a puppy and not trained. I sit down with him on the floor to tell him things, but he won't stay still. He jumps up on my lap and puts his feet on my chest and tries to lick my face. I push him back on the floor and I say, "Sit still when I'm talking to you." But he don't mind me. He doesn't listen. He just jumps up again, his tail wagging like he thinks we're playing. Baby Terrell thinks it's so funny. He rocks over to the dog and goes bop on his back end. And when the dog jumps up, Baby Terrell's mouth pops open and he laughs and laughs. Tanya has to keep pushing him off her dolls. He gets hold of one of that cloth in the middle and pulls off the plastic bottom half of one leg. Tanya's crying like that doll's a real person. I say, she has so many, she ought to give one to Rover to play with. She's so mad, she takes the broke doll and throws it across the room. Rover thinks it's a game. He runs after that doll and grabs it and won't never give it back. It's his now, no matter what Tanya says. He sits there with it in his mouth and shakes it at us like he's saying, "Come on and try to take it. Come on and see what happens." Mama's mouth gets all pinched up and she says, "Little T, you're going to have to teach that dog some manners." I put him on a leash and I take him outside, but I don't know how to teach him manners. He won't listen to me. Tell the truth, nobody listens to me. Poor little T. He's feeling alone. No one listens to him. The dog is a puppy. The dog won't sit and listen to stories the way little T told Buddy stories. And little T's probably missing Jamila. It comes on January and I think to myself, I ain't never seen a place look so gray. Of course, all the pine trees in Mississippi are broke. What other trees there are got knocked over or their branches got ripped off. And besides, they ain't got no leaves in the wintertime anyway. Then it's raining. It ain't like rain in New Orleans. In New Orleans, when it rains, it pours, just like it says on the salt box. It fills up the street sometimes. It rains so much. But it don't hardly ever rain all day long. Mostly it rains in the afternoon. It pours for a while, then it clears up. And before you know it, the sun comes out again. Well, in Mississippi, it rains all day long, just a little bit. I'm sitting there in that teeny tiny apartment, can't go outside but long enough to let Rover do his business. And I'm thinking, how come it can't just come down all at once and get it over with? You see, it drizzles and rains slowly in Mississippi. Okay, it doesn't have like these short downpours like what happens in New Orleans. Well, then it's cold. It gets cold in New Orleans too, but it's only cold for, say, one day. Then it warms up again. But here, right, in Mississippi, it's cold for days and days. When school starts up again, Mama says, we've got to have coats and gloves. She gets Tanya a coat with what looks like a fur collar. She gets her some gloves with 3 little balls, like a flower stuck on the back of the hand part. Tanya wears that coat and those gloves every day like she's a princess. Mama says, what kind of coat do I want? And I say, I don't want a coat. What am I doing living in a place where I need a coat? Mama says, I'm acting like a fool. She says, I better straighten up. I say, make me. And she purses up her mouth like she's sucking a lemon. I lay on the sofa and look at the rain and close my eyes. I try my flying trick again, but there ain't nowhere to go. Everything I go looking for is gone. Our house, my bicycle, my friends, my dog. I can't pretend I'm sitting at the table drawing pictures with Jamila or sitting in the shed feeding dog biscuits to Buddy. I can't pretend Buddy's slobbering over his biscuits and his whole body's jerking. He's so excited, and Grandpa T is saying, why do you love that ugly dog so much? Mom is calling me into the house to bag pralines, and it's warm outside, and the sky is blue, and down the street kids are playing, and there's music. I can't pretend because it ain't there no more. Ain't none of it there no more. When I try my flying trick, I can't even get it off the ground. So little T understands that he's fully aware. Everything is gone. Even in his imagination, there's nothing left in his imagination. Okay? He's experiencing despair. Despair, despair. Then it gets to be Valentine's Day. Tanya and Mama make pralines for everybody in Tanya's class. They spend all day Saturday. They ain't got the little bags anymore, but Mama wraps each one in cellophane and ties it with a red ribbon. Tanya's cutting hearts out of paper and writing names on them with a red marker. She can't make her S's worth anything. They're mostly backward, and that's because it looks like almost everybody in her class has an S in their name. Sally, Samantha, Sarah, Susan. Mama says, do I want some for my class? And I just say, Well, then take that dog outside, Mama says, before he drives me crazy. I tell Rover to drop his doll, and he must think I'm telling him to hide it. I finally catch him up under the bed and get a leash on him, and out we go. There ain't nowhere to walk except up and down that 6-lane highway. But Rover thinks that's the best place in the world. He's snuffling along with his nose glued to the ground, and then all of a sudden, he's heading off towards somebody's patch of grass to dig a little hole. I yank him off that, and then he starts trotting down the sidewalk, pulling me one way and then the other, barking at birds and barking at cars. I'm thinking it's a good thing he ain't no bigger than a puppy, because if he was any bigger, he'd drag me straight right into the street. When I've had all I can take, we head on back to the apartment, and there's Mama with a whole extra box of pralines and a big old grin on her face saying, we made you some anyway, and I'm supposed to be happy about it. The next day at school, Mrs. Watson gives everybody in the class a teensy little box of Valentine candy. Some of the girls give her a box back, but I leave those pralines in my book bag. Mrs. Watson does a speech on who St. Valentine is and why we've got this day and how it's all about love. Then she leaves off teaching for a little while so we can eat the candy. The boys are all rolling their eyes. They're saying to each other, that's the stupidest thing they've ever heard. One brother says, if I'm going to give a girl something, it ain't going to be candy. And everybody laughs, even me. After our party, Mrs. Watson says, we're going to learn to write letters. She goes on and on about what to write, where. Then she says, we're going to practice. She says, to think of somebody we ain't talked to in a long time. We can write a letter to that person, and Mrs. Watson will put it in the mail for us. Who's little T going to write? Who do you think? Well, I know exactly who I'm going to write. I pick up my pencil and I get going. Dear Jamila, I write, why haven't you answered my letters? Then I tell her all about everything. It takes me 3 pages of writing, front and back. I don't even stop to look up. At the end, I do just like Mrs. Watson says, and I write, sincerely, little T. That looks stupid though, so I erase it and change it to, love, little T. But that ain't right either. So I erase it one more time and just write, little T. That seems like it ought to be enough. I write all the address I can remember on the envelope and hand it in to Mrs. Watson. Then I give Mrs. Watson the whole box of pralines to take home for herself. 2 weeks after that, Mrs. Watson calls me up to her desk at lunch. She's holding that letter in her hand. She gives it back to me. It has 2 words stamped on the front. Insufficient address. Okay? Insufficient address. Insufficient means not enough, inadequate, not enough information, not enough details. So that letter didn't get to Jamila. It didn't get to Chicago because little T was missing parts of the address. Insufficient. Can you say insufficient? Say it. Insufficient. That means not enough. Then Mrs. Watson says, Chicago is a big city, she's saying. You need more than just the street. You need the house number 2. I don't know it, I say. Do you have it written down at home? All that stuff's gone. Gone? I shrug. Washed away. Don't you know her phone number? I shake my head. Does she know yours? She don't know where we're living now. Mrs. Watson and I just stare at the letter. It looks all dirty now, not clean and white like when I sent it off. I guess, I stop talking and shrug. I guess there ain't no way to send it then. She shakes her head. But keep it, she says. I don't want it, I say, and start tearing it in half. Don't do that, Tyrone. It's a beautiful letter. She's gone, I say. Grandpa T says, comes a time. I rip that letter into so many pieces, it looks like a pile of confetti laying in the bottom of the trash can. Mrs. Watson's watching me the whole time. Then I walk outside and stand in the cold and rain all by myself. Right before the bell rings, that boy, Jerome, comes up to me and looks me over. What are you doing standing here all by yourself? He says. Thinking. About what? Stuff. He hikes up his pants a little and looks me over again. Some of us are getting together after school. There's a place behind the Winn-Dixie That's a supermarket, okay, Johnson? We've got some weed. You want to come? Okay, so weed is like a drug. It's a form of pot. It's another word for smoking pot. So Jerome is asking little T, we've got some weed. You want to come? I don't turn my head to look at him. Doesn't make eye contact. Little T knows not to make eye contact. I keep my eyes on the jungle gym. There's a girl hanging upside down and laughing. I can't, I say. How come? Got work? He nods. Next time, maybe. I nod back, and he walks away. Wow, what a chapter, right? Okay. Got Rover, who's a puppy, all over the place. Little T writes Jamila a letter. It gets returned. A student offers, Jerome offers Little T drugs, and Little T knows what to do. He doesn't make that eye contact, and he says no in his own way. So here we go. The apartment is the setting and school. Rover is very different from Buddy. He is hyper and he doesn't listen. Little T doesn't like the weather in Mississippi. And Little T's flying tricks don't work. Everything is gone. There's no place to fly to, right? Little T writes a letter to Jamila during Mrs. Watson's class. The letter gets returned. It says insufficient address, not enough information. It's insufficient. Insufficient means not enough. Little T says no to drugs. Here's the quote. She's gone, I say. Grandpa T says, comes the time. Okay, stop and jot. Little T gives up on writing a letter to Jamila, and he states that his flying tricks no longer work. It seems that Grandpa T's words have sunk into his spirit and taken life. What words of encouragement can you offer Little T at this time? You know, and I don't want you all just saying, oh, hang in there, Little T. What can you say to Little T? How can you encourage him? Do you have any ideas about maybe how to train Rover better, or maybe how to get in touch with Jamila, maybe? Or what if someone offers him drugs again? Do you want to give Little T some more advice? So think about this. I miss you all in class, and I'm doing my best with the videos and the notes. And I really would be in class getting all your thoughts and ideas down and putting it onto the smart board. But do your best, okay, as you think of the stop and jot question, and then answer it, okay? So I will see you for chapter 27. Bye.